Hey friends, I hope you're doing well. I published a video yesterday with Dave Rowe talking about WS Holland, and I have a little bit of a backstory that I want to share with you. I also published another video just after that of part of an interview that I did with him, and I wanted to put this out there as a little bit of a historical record. Just to sort of go along with those. I've said some of this before, but I've never said it all in one place that I know. But when Amy and I first moved to Nashville, I mean, this is 15 years ago now at least, but maybe the second night we were there, I got a call from Chuck Mead, and he's like, hey man, there's a party you guys ought to come to. And well, all right, man, sounds fun, you know, and I think Tim Carroll invited us also. We show up, it was at a house close to Peter Cooper's house. I forget if it was Peter's or the next house over. It's unimportant. But at this party, there was a band playing on a porch, and probably 20 people were sitting out in the yard in lawn chairs. And in this band, it's Cowboy Jack Clement playing, fronting the band, Chuck Mead, Tim Carroll, Peter Cooper, I think Eric Brace, trying to remember who all was in the band, but WS Holland was playing drums in this thing. And you know, of all these great Cowboy Jack stories he's telling in between songs, WS Holland is telling these great stories in between songs also. And we kind of realized, wow, that's the guy that's played with Johnny Cash his entire career, and that played on Blue Suede Shoes and all this stuff. Just an amazing evening, and we were just excited as all hell that we just moved into this neighborhood, East Nashville, that's like this, you know, where these things happen. And 'cause I love the old Nashville, I love the old stories. You guys know me, so when people who were there when the real stuff went down, I love being around that and learning from that. But when I started interviewing people, I had WS Holland on a short list, but he lived in Jackson, Tennessee. That's at least 2 hours from Nashville drive. I can't remember exactly how far. I think Memphis is 3, I think, but we'll say at least 2 hours. And so I was contacting him and asking him if I could interview him. And I was going through a friend of his who was setting things up for him, really nice, helpful guy. And I just kept asking, when are you coming through Nashville? When are you going to be in Nashville? And they said, he'd like to do the interview. He'll agree to do it, but he just has no plans to be in Nashville. This went on for at least a year. At least, maybe 2, I'm not sure. And then one day I just sat and thought, why don't I drive to Jackson? And I said, you mind if I just drive out there? We'll set a day and a time, and I'll go interview him. And she said, yeah, we can do that. So we set up this time and this date. I drive to Jackson, Tennessee, and I pull up, beautiful house, W.S. Holland's house that Dave Rowe described. And I pull up, I knock on the door, and nobody answered. And I'm like, oh boy. And I knocked, and I stood around for quite a while, and nobody answered. And I thought, man, I drove all this way, this kind of sucks. But I thought, well, walk around back, look around, maybe you'll see somebody. I peeked in the backyard, didn't see anybody. And I walked around, and the garage was open, but you couldn't see it from the front. And out walks W.S. Holland, and he'd been working on his car. And he's like, hey, can I help you? And I said, yeah, man, I'm supposed to interview you. And there was some kind of miscommunication, or he forgot or something. And he's like, I didn't know that. And I said, man, it's no problem at all. We can do this some other time. I didn't even tell him that I drove from Jackson or from Nashville. And I was like, we can do it some other time. If this is bad, you know, I'm sorry to surprise you. And he's like, well, how long do you think it'll take? And I'm like, I don't know, an hour, a couple hours. And he's like, well, will you let me get cleaned up a little bit? And I said, you do anything you want. And he brought me in the house. And I mean, it's really, really nice. Now imagine a lot of people in the world in general, you know, but in the music business, if you surprise them at their house and they had no idea. It slipped their mind. They didn't know, but you show up and say, I'm supposed to interview you. A lot of people wouldn't be very nice with that. He was extremely nice about it. We sat down. He came in and we did the interview. He had a room. I don't want to say a trophy room. It was like a man cave room with a lot of memorabilia and stuff like that. He had great memorabilia. I remember he had a set of drums that he told his story in the interview. Another part that I haven't published yet, or it's on my podcast. You can find it there, but it's not on the YouTube channel. He told a story about when he was touring with Johnny Cash. He had this big this drum kit. It's like right there in front of you. He got this idea. He had to bring clothes, and he thought, well, where do I put the clothes? Because there's only so much room to put everything. I think he said they toured in a Cadillac, so there's not much room. And he got this idea, and he had a zipper built into the drum head where you would go ahead and just unzip it, kind of like a half moon. It would fold down, and he'd put his clothes inside his kick drum, and he'd zip it back up, and that was his luggage. And I thought that was pretty genius. And he said it sounded better when he would play with the clothes inside the kick drum. And he had that drum right there. He had the whole set of drums. And he had claimed that those were the set of drums that he played at all of these different events, these TV shows, things like that. He said that they were the ones he played at San Quentin. And the pictures don't have those drums in them. But, I think he just forgot or whatever. It's not that big a deal. That part's not important. But, man, he was so nice. Really, really super nice, and treated me like he was really happy I was there. And, I don't know, just one of those things that was nice to be able to share that with the world back then and then this week also. So when I was interviewing Dave Rowe, I knew that he played with WS Holland, and I figured they were probably friends, but I didn't know. And when Dave said, man, I would like to talk about W.S. Holland if I can. And so I was pretty excited, like, hell yeah. Let's, what would you like to say about him? And then when he said those nice things, I was like, man, that's great. I feel good about being able to put that into the world. So consider this part 3 in this little quick trilogy over the course of a couple days. And we'll leave this here for posterity. And if you haven't heard the interview with Dave Rowe, I'll put it right up here. And I might even also put the interview that I did with him up there also from a few years ago. But I hope you enjoy that, and I'll see you somewhere down the road. Much love to you.